If you're a fighter jet pilot and your aircraft is shot down over enemy territory, you need a small, stealthy weapon to defend yourself and avoid capture while attempting to escape. In September of 2021, the RIA Novosti, a Russian state-owned news agency, reported that the Russian Aerospace Forces officially approved the addition of the PPK-20 submachine gun into their survival kits for military pilots. I want to know, what are some of the tactics that Russian pilots use with this tiny 16-inch submachine gun that has a rate of fire of 800 rounds per minute? But it's not just Russian pilots who are asking for higher firepower. As we'll see, it's also all of the NATO countries as well. In this episode, we'll analyze how the development history of the PPK-20 at Kalashnikov has been informed by the changing needs of the Russian military, and whether or not it's actually well suited for the role. But first, welcome back. Well, to be fair, you threatened to arrest me if I didn't come back, sir. I'm afraid NATO has a top secret mission for you, Cappy, and the only way to complete it is with a goat gun. Miniaturize his weapon. But I thought this was only for the elite Special Forces HUA soldiers. Nope, now even complete like you can use them. But first, we'll need you to go through this goat guns training montage to learn how to use them correctly.
Yeah, he's becoming a goat gun expert, learning all the things.
Wow, just wow, you managed to fail every single training event. How did you do that? Yes, sir. Now I'm an expert on these little suckers. Goat guns weigh up to 16 ounces, so they actually have some weight to them, making them the perfect size to display on your desk, shelf, or coffee table. That's right, each model has intricate working parts and spare dummy round ammunition that can actually load into each magazine. They make the perfect gift for that military or history buff in your family, or even your tactically minded pet. Just click the link in the description. Wait, oh my god, did you just say click the link in the description? Is my whole life just a YouTube ad? Is none of this real? That's right, sir, you can get a goat gun too. The PPK-20 U variant is designed to fit directly into their wearable portable emergency reserve for fighter, assault, and Russian bomber combat aircraft. The weapon's folding telescopic polymer buttstock makes it more compact and well suited for elite forces and pilots. It used a simple closed bolt, straight blowback method of operation to cycle each round, so the pressure from the fired cartridge sends the bolt to the rear. It fires a small caliber 9x19mm parabellum pistol cartridge. In its shortest configuration, it's just 16 inches long, allowing it to fit into the Russian KM-36 ejection seat if necessary.
Once the pilot has decided to eject himself, all he needs to do is to pull the ejection lever.
The Russian pilot survival kit is a small gray case that contains water storage container, machete, survival guide, sunglasses, compass, signal mirror, ammo storage container, cooking container, first aid supplies, waterproof matches, and the Izmash NV-101 survival knife. The PPK-20 U differs from its predecessor, the Vityaz-SN, in a few key ways that make it actually a solid weapon for this particular mission set. Its lower weight is reportedly 2.5 kilograms, or only 5.5 pounds, unloaded, which is how it's supposedly going to be integrated into pilot survival kits. Pilots also carry flares and other signaling devices like pen lights that can be used as distress signals in order to flag down rescue aircraft, because I think the best way to think about the submachine gun is it's just another tool for the pilot of their main goal of escaping. It's not meant for a prolonged firefight. It's just a distraction tactic to slow down opposing forces in order to buy time to get somewhere to signal for rescue. ORXC is a website that's tracking Russian and Ukrainian losses. And they've reported that the Russian Air Force has now lost 142 combat aircraft over Ukraine, including jets and helicopters, since the invasion began. Dozens of those incidents reportedly led to the Ukrainian armed forces capturing those Russian pilots, but many may have escaped as well. It's good to be aware that downed Russian pilots have more than just a pistol on hand now, so Ukrainian forces know the level of threat that they're dealing with when they're trying to apprehend them. SOFREP wrote a great article detailing Russian pilot survival equipment, including their KM-36 ejection seat, which reportedly has a 97% survival rate, capable of allowing pilots to eject at up to 82,000 feet and Mach 2.5 or 1,900 miles per hour. The pilot survival kit has a very limited amount of weight and space that can be dedicated to gear, and the weapon must be able to handle extreme cold temperatures and high G-forces and vibrations that occur when aircraft ejection seats deploy. According to the Soviet Army Operations and Tactics Field Manual, Russia pre-planned Air Force strikes, use large-scale maps and in some cases terrain models to familiarize pilots with targets ahead of time, to plan approach and departure routes, meaning that once they eject, Russian pilots are familiar with landmarks and routes from which to escape. But the need for increased firepower for pilots who find themselves on the ground started much earlier than the invasion of Ukraine. The Russian Air Force involvement in the Syrian war for the past decade was the first signal to reveal a possible vulnerability for their pilots. On February 3, 2018, Russian pilot Major Roman Filipova, flying his Su-25 Frogfoot, was shot down over western Syria by what they claim was an extremist rebel group. Major Filipova ejected safely to the ground near the city of Tel Aviv, but he found himself pretty quickly in a firefight on the ground with over a dozen Syrian militia. He emptied his 1950s-era Stecken APC machine pistol, taking out 2 Syrian fighters. The pistol has a limited range of 50 meters and a low accuracy compared to the PPK-20. Without the ability to hold the Syrian fighters off long enough for search and rescue to come get Major Filipova, he used a grenade on himself instead of enduring what would have happened if he was captured. But it's not just Russian pilots who are thinking about this issue. The US Air Force developed a special version of the M4 that can fold into 2 pieces, but it has a downside of taking up to 60 seconds to put together first. Fighter pilots all over the world began requesting more firepower after witnessing what happened to Jordanian Air Force pilot Khashoggi in December 2014 in Syria. Historically, captured pilots are always treated the worst out of all prisoners of war because of the devastating effect that their bombs have on cities. The PPK-20 has a quick detachable sound and flash suppressor, which is incredibly important for a downed pilot trying to avoid detection. Well-engineered suppressors can reduce the noise signature between 20 and 30 decibels, which is the equivalent of sounding like you're wearing high-quality earplugs when firing it. The difference in visibility is just as drastic. If you look at this comparison picture between a muzzle flash with and without a suppressor, all of this makes it more difficult to locate the pilot. The PPK-20 submachine gun traces its roots to the 1990s, during a time period where quality control standards for just about everything was falling apart during the start of the Russian Federation. Even the AK rifles built during this time are reported to have quality and reliability issues. There was also a rise in organized crime in Russia, which led to a resurgence of submachine gun designs at the time. The Russian design bureaus like Izmash responded to the increased interest in submachine guns by creating a few different firearms, including the Bizon submachine gun that the PPK-20 is heavily based on. It was designed by a team of well-known Russian weapon engineers. It was headed by Viktor Kalashnikov, who's the son of the famous AK-47 designer Mikhail Kalashnikov, and Alexei Dragunov, the son of Yevgeny Dragunov, who created the famous Russian SVD sniper rifle. It's interesting, you don't see that kind of thing as a selling point in Western arms manufacturing. People don't really say, oh, it's the son of the guy who created the M16, or this is the son of the M240 creator. I don't know if that's just a cultural difference where the West would see that as nepotism, and in the East, they see it as this kind of historical lineage and Russian pride. The prototype PP-19 Bizon was trialed by the Special Equipment Research Institute in 1995, where it outperformed the competitors and was accepted into service on December 28, 1996. It has 60% of its parts in commonality with the Russian AK-74, which makes logistics for the weapon much easier. The Bizon used this really weird 64-round Heletica feed magazine. It's the most radical design feature, and it's often mistaken for an underslung grenade launcher under the barrel of the weapon, but that high-capacity feed system frequently jams and was a pain to reload. In fact, some reports by its operators claim that it jammed every 10 rounds, which wouldn't be surprising to me given how complicated the spring system must be inside of that magazine. But it makes sense, right? The Russians have always had this love for a drum magazine on their submachine gun ever since the famous PPSH-41 with its 71-round drum that was used to great success in World War II. The Bizon was developed at the request of the Russian Ministry of Internal Affairs, the MVD. This is where you'll find Russian secret police. The MVD is responsible for law enforcement in Russia through its agencies like the Police of Russia, Mitigation Affairs, Drug Control, Traffic Safety, and the Center for Combating Extremism. It's also likely they saw how similar Western agencies were using the MP5 to great success, and they wanted something similar. In 2004, to address the issues of the Bizon, Izmash created the Vityaz, which means night in Russian. The Vityaz added a Picatinny rail system for optics and took advantage of modern material advances like polymer for the front grip and pistol grip, and most importantly, was far more reliable than the Bison. It would finally move away from the drum magazine strategy and incorporate a smaller, more reliable 30-round box magazine. Then in 2020, the PPK-20 upgraded version of the Vityaz completed state trials. However, Kalashnikov Concern reports that their new weapon will also fire a high-pressure, armor-piercing ammunition, the 7N31. It's designed to penetrate soft body armor. Scopes can be mounted on its new Picatinny rail and dust cover, an ability that was absent in past versions. Let me know what you guys think of the PPK-20 and this strategy for pilot personal defense weapons. If you like this video, I think you guys will dig this one about Northrop Grumman. Check it out if you have a chance. Thank you for watching.